There's a certain kind of exhaustion you've carried for so long that you stopped noticing it. A certain heaviness in your chest that you've learned to swallow before anyone else sees it. A certain silence that doesn't feel peaceful. It feels trained. And the strange part is, no one around you has a clue. Because to them, you look strong. You look capable. You look like the person who has it together. But underneath that quiet competence sits a brutal truth. You learned to survive by never needing anything. And now that survival strategy is slowly starving you. This is the paradox. The very thing that once kept you safe, being self-reliant, being low maintenance, being the one who doesn't ask for much, has now become the thing suffocating you. Because somewhere along the way, someone taught you that asking for help is dangerous, or disappointing, or burdensome, or simply not an option. So, you didn't learn how to ask. You learned to endure. You didn't learn how to lean. You learned how to carry. You didn't learn how to express pain. You learned to hide it so well that even when your hands shake, you press them down on your thighs, smile, and say, "I'm fine." People call that independence, but you know better. It's not independence. It's emotional self-abandonment dressed up as strength. And here's the truth you rarely admit to yourself. You don't avoid asking for help because you don't need it. You avoid it because you don't trust help to come without a cost. There's a silent fear behind your silence. If I let someone see what I actually feel, they might pull away, or blame me, or judge me, or use it against me. Or worse, they might help me once and then never again, proving what I feared all along, that I am fundamentally on my own. So, you carry everything yourself, even when it's killing you. And people admire you for it. They admire the very thing that is destroying you. 2. Definition and psychological authority. Psychologically, the inability to ask for help is not a personality trait. It's a response. A patterned, conditioned, adaptive response to environments where vulnerability wasn't safe or reciprocated. There are 3 major psychological frameworks that explain this. 1. Parentification. Parentification occurs when a child is prematurely forced into emotional or practical responsibility far beyond their age. Maybe you had to be the calm one in a chaotic household. Maybe you had to anticipate everyone's moods. Maybe you became the therapist, the mediator, the fixer. When a child becomes the stable one too early, their brain learns a dangerous equation. My feelings are secondary. My needs only cause more problems. My role is to manage everything quietly. This shifts the child into chronic hyper-responsibility. The default mode network gets wired towards vigilance, scanning for problems, suppressing personal needs. This produces adults who don't wait for help. They automatically assume they're the one who must hold the weight. 2. Avoidant attachment. People who can't ask for help often develop dismissive or fearful avoidant attachment styles. Their nervous system has been trained that closeness equals danger, needs equals shame, vulnerability equals exposure. So they regulate by retreating inward. Help feels invasive. Support feels risky. Dependence feels humiliating. Their internal logic becomes, why would I ask for something that someone will eventually use to control me or hurt me? And so the emotional walls are built, thick, quiet, and never negotiated. 3. Hyper-independence. A trauma response, hyper-independence, is the psychological armor forged by people who were repeatedly disappointed or betrayed by caregivers or partners. When help was inconsistent or unsafe, the brain adapted with a survival rule. I only have myself. Over time, the nervous system becomes allergic to receiving care. Even small acts of kindness make them tense, suspicious, or uncomfortable. Their survival mode is self-sufficiency. Their identity becomes competence. Their pride becomes isolation. The neurological rewiring. When a person grows up managing everything alone, their amygdala becomes hypersensitive to rejection cues. Their prefrontal cortex becomes overburdened with self-regulation tasks. Their stress response becomes internalized, silent, hidden. This is why asking for help feels unnatural. Not because you're stubborn, not because you're proud, but because your nervous system is literally wired to equate need with danger. 3. The emotional cost and philosophical weight. But let's be brutally honest here. This coping mechanism has a cost. A cost you've been paying quietly, privately, endlessly. Here's what it feels like. You become everyone's anchor, but no one becomes yours. You show up for people, but no one knows how to show up for you. You listen and listen and listen until your own voice disappears. And the world applauds you for being so strong, so low maintenance, so easy to be around. But they never ask what it cost you to become that person, because they can't see the invisible grief you carry, the grief of never being nurtured, the grief of never feeling safe enough to collapse, the grief of always needing to be the stable one, the grief of never experiencing true emotional interdependence. Carl Jung once wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." For you, the terror isn't in being alone. You mastered that. The terror is letting someone see the truth, that underneath your competence is a person who is exhausted, overwhelmed, and tired of being the strong one. The real fear isn't asking for help. The real fear is what help reveals. That you too are human. That you too break. That you too need. And you've been taught that needing is the same as failing. 4. Adult manifestation and the unlearning. As an adult, this wound doesn't disappear. It just changes shape. Here's how it shows up, bluntly, clearly, undeniably. 1. You apologize for asking even tiny things. Sorry to bother you? Only if you have time. Don't worry, I'll manage. You shrink your needs down to crumbs because you learned that needs make you unlovable. 2. You do everything yourself, even when you're drowning. You'll carry all the weight, burn out silently, then still say, "It's okay, I've got it." No, you don't got it. You just don't know any other way to exist. 3. You feel awkward or guilty when someone helps you. Your body tenses. Your mind tries to find a way to repay the favor immediately. Receiving becomes a transaction, not a connection. 4. You feel safer supporting others than being supported. Listening to others? Easy. Letting someone comfort you? That feels like emotional nakedness. 5. You attract people who take more than they give. Not because you're weak, but because you've been conditioned to overfunction. And takers can sense that kind of reliability from miles away. 6. You don't know how to ask for clarity, reassurance, or help in relationships. Instead, you withdraw.